The St. Louis Planning Commission takes up one of the most consequential development questions the city has faced in years: how to regulate massive data centers without sending billions of dollars investment somewhere else. Supporters see the centers as economic engines for the AI era. Critics warn they could strain utilities and raise bills. Political editor Mark Maxwell spoke with one of the country's biggest data center builders, who says St. Louis may already be missing out.
Yeah, Mike, this map frustrates Bob Clark to no end. According to all this federal data, St. Louis sits at the intersection of major transmission and fiber corridors near an abundant water supply. But being plugged into all these resources isn't the same as turning the switch on. Clark points to other cities that are already embracing the emerging industry and are now competing for billions of dollars in private investment. St. Louis is a city with strong bones, built to power nearly 1 million people.
St. Louis has it all. 90 billion gallons of water goes by the arch every day.
Today, that aging infrastructure serves a much smaller city, about 270,000.
St. Louis has been passed over by lots of opportunities, quite frankly.
Industries of the past built elsewhere. Railroads chose Chicago. Their boom was our bust. Builders see a similar revolution shaping the digital economy. Clay co-founder and CEO Bob Clark builds data centers across the country. He sees St. Louis at a familiar crossroads with untapped potential in its existing infrastructure.
Data centers are producing the same kind of revenue for communities that casinos do.
Where some see the city's overbuilt infrastructure as a burden saddling the city with decades of debt, he sees it as a springboard for the city's comeback to compete in a rapidly evolving economy. You call opposition misinformation. What exactly are people getting wrong?
That these things cause a lot of pollution. That's not true. That they're noisy. That's not true. That they don't create jobs. That's not true. We need to be way more transparent. The cities, the communities, the people, they need to know what's in it for them.
What happens when the construction, the concrete mixers, the cranes leave town? I mean, these things are giant warehouses full of computers and wires. How many people actually work inside one?
Yeah, hundreds. And here's the answer to your question about what happens after the cranes leave and that the construction stops. You end up with a very quiet, usually very calm looking building with great landscaping around it, and you get tax revenue. That's what you get after all of the cranes leave.
Tax revenue the city sorely needs. There's the argument for the upside. Planning commissioners right now hearing strong opposition from residents worried about rising electric bills, water consumption rates, and perhaps pollution from backup generators and the limited number of long-term jobs. The question now is whether the city can write rules to address those fears without shutting the door on all that investment.